So I have decided to take a break from the YouTube channel for a significant period of time, 6 months. And so for the first 6 months of 2026, I will not be posting any videos and may only be engaging with comments sporadically. I decided to do this for various reasons, and I'm going to talk about them in today's video. So the first is that my own health has declined over the last year. Now, when I was working very hard on writing my book and so on in 2024, my health was actually in a much better place. I would say that I had mild ME. Of course, the crashes were still very unpleasant, but I had a very high level of functionality in comparison to where I have been with much of my illness and also this year. So in 2024, I could walk 8, 9, 10,000 steps a day, and it took a lot more to crash me. Whereas now, unfortunately, my health has declined, so I am back mainly pottering. I can't do extended activity. Really kind of short walks risk crashing me, and the crashes are much more severe. It's something that, I think as ME patients, we get used to how ill we can feel. But, if I were, let's say, well, if I think of the time when I was well and I just suddenly randomly experienced what an ME crash feels like the ones I have now, I would assume I was dying and I needed to go to A&E. But we get used to that as ME patients, but we shouldn't. We should remember that we are bodies that are really suffering and which need to be nurtured and looked after. And because my capacity has reduced, and I think it's primarily reduced because of the hyperbaric oxygen treatment that I did in Romania, which was at a very high pressure and I think was too taxing for my body because it can really stress out things at a cellular level. Because of the decline I've had, I have found that I am not able to continue at the level of work that I was doing. And I should say that even though it was quite I was working pretty hard, and there were some times that it felt too much, in general, I really loved doing it and it was very meaningful, but it's not something that I can sustain at this time. So I will be pausing YouTube for 6 months at least. And then in 6 months' time, if my health is doing a lot better again, if I'm hopefully mild again, or who knows, then I hope that I will restart. For this period of time, the channel will go dormant. Now, I will be continuing with some strands of my ME-CFS work, so I will be continuing to engage with external platforms. So if there's any podcasts or talks, I will be doing those. There's a couple of exciting ones in the pipeline. I also kind of work behind the scenes to try and get raise awareness of Professor Wirth's work with platforms that may be interested in interviewing him, or journalists who might like to write about his and Professor Seidenbogen's work. So, for example, I connected Klaus with Jez Medinger and others who have done interviews of him, and I continue working on that kind of thing because I do believe that there's so many cards stacked against ME-CFS research and ME-CFS, drug development, which has never happened, that the more awareness that can be raised, the more likely the scientific process might actually come to pass, potential drug like Myalgic. So I will continue to do those kinds of things. Also working on translations of my book. The French translation is actually out now, with the title Résoudre l'énigme de l'ME-CFS. And that can be found on Amazon and all kinds of online platforms if you are French and you want to get my book in French. But that hasn't been announced officially yet, but I will be, that's basically out now. And all going well, there will be a German edition of the book as well, released this summer, which I'm working on with Dr. Marco Carrer. So these are things that I will continue to work on, or whatever naturally arises from those. And of course, my Patreon Discord community will continue. And you're very welcome to come and join us. We have a private Discord and also once a month Zoom calls where we share how things are going and the treatment strategies that we are trying. So that will all continue, but this side of my work will, as I focus on recovering my own health and getting into a better situation myself. So I'll say a little bit about what I'm going to be doing, what my plans are in terms of improving health-wise in 2026. But there's a few other things that I think are important, and also why I am deciding to stop at this time. So a couple of months ago, people know I was in Romania I was in Bucharest at that point, and then all of a sudden I got a phone call that my dad had had a serious heart attack, and I rushed back from Romania to France. And thankfully, his life was saved, and so he's back at home. But, there's a lot of things that he is dealing with now, thanks to the heart attack, that have changed his life. And I'm essentially acting in a semi-carer role for him at the moment. So that's something that absolutely has to take top priority for me in terms of where I bring my energy to. And so that's another reason why I have to pull back at present. And then I think also something else that's personally important for me, that this illness, both because of the nature of it and because I have spent most of the time that I can doing ME-CFS work, has taken me away from what I really personally care most about, which is composing music. I am a composer, and my music is part of various online libraries, but I've not touched the piano in years. It's been because of this, which makes it hard to be creative. And it's, I can't do everything at once. So I've mainly put my efforts into this kind of work. But I think it's now time for that balance to be redressed and for me to return to the piano. So I also hope that in the coming months, I will be doing that as well. So that is my update. This channel will go quiet. You may not hear from me. I'm sorry if you write comments and I don't respond. It's just because I'm focusing on the things that I have to prioritize at this time. What I will be doing for my health, I was going to be working on kinds of, I bought my own intermittent hypoxic device, like what I was doing in Romania, in Bucharest. But I've decided I won't be pursuing that. I'm going to be getting back to the absolute basics. What I have observed over and over works for people to recover from this illness. I studied many recovery stories, and I think we can get very much, because it's so desperate a situation, we can really think, oh, this therapy will do it, or that supplement, or this medication. But ultimately, the pattern that one observes with people who recover over and over is they stop pushing their bodies. They stop trying to do anything resembling exercise, and they find a safe baseline where they do not crash. And then after a month or two of that, at that point, they start to increase their physical activity. And obviously this is a very delicate balancing act, because if you just stop and do nothing at all and you just lie down all the time, well, that can lead to real problems. But if you're always pushing yourself, that also can lead to real problems. So there's balance to be had where you are nurturing your body and not, developing these streaks of periods of days where you do not go into post-exertional malaise. And that's what allows the body to heal. When you actually stabilize, say after a month or 2 or maybe 3 months like that, then you very gradually, start to increase your activity. And that's very difficult to do. And I'm not very good at pacing. I've got better over the years, but, it's very rare that I would go 2 weeks without crashing. And yet the people who recover, invariably I hear them say, I got to 2 months without crashing. My focus is going to be the 50% rule. I'm going to do 50% of the activity on any given day. That is kind of like, if 100% were going to lead me to a crash, I'm going to be doing 50% on each given day. And that is intuitive. It involves pulling back, being more receptive to life, listening to the body, and allowing it to spiral upwards, hopefully. So that's going to be my focus for 2026. I am sticking with it all year. That is the New Year's resolution. If I crash and fall down, I will get back on the bandwagon and I will continue again. What I have observed, not just in other people, but in myself even, why is it that we have a bad crash, feel like we're literally dying, and then 4 or 5 days later, we feel significantly better. The body has done that. The body has managed to initiate healing mechanisms. The problem is we just don't let it continue. We don't let it continue. That's always the issue. And, we get a bit of energy back and then we go and blow it again because we want to catch up on life. This is, after 8 years of being sick, this is now what I'm really going to give my best effort at doing. I'm also returning to my neuroplasticity practice, which I tend to have done quite intermittently. I obviously am very critical of the standard neuroplasticity narrative on this channel, which I think is very reductive of ME-CFS. I also am critical of the other side, which tends to dismiss it altogether. And I do believe that the autonomic nervous system is dysregulated. It is so for a variety of reasons, but one of them I believe is neuroplastic. And I think it's very important for the illness. So I'm back working on that as well. Half an hour morning and evening, just consistently to help my brain, get out of that traumatized state and move towards allowing that component of the illness to influence the other components in whatever way that it can. But I'm also doing it for its own sake because I enjoy neuroplasticity practice, and it's good to have. I prefer to be happier than not, right? So I'm just kind of focusing on that as well. So those are the two kind of threads for what I'm doing. I'm also back on a largely carnivorous diet, which I find is supportive of my muscles and supportive of my general health. So I'm back on that. Otherwise, I just don't really at this stage. I might try some new supplements here or there, but I want to just give this a really good go. I'm not massively. The problem with supplements is you take them even if you feel a bit better. If your body actually feels better because of its own healing efforts, it's very robust and resilient. And supplements, of course, can help you move forward, and then you can taper off later. But I want the progress I get now to be real. I want it to be what my body is doing itself. That is my focus. I'm trying to remain hopeful and to see where 2026 leads me. I hope that, those of you who have followed this channel, and I've enjoyed, conversing with many of you in the comments, I hope that your health improves in 2026, and I look forward to the time when I restart this, and will share more things ME-CFS related when the time is right. But for now, it's adieu, adios, etc. And we'll touch base in whenever the time is right, but it'll be at least 6 months from now.